called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all
Hey, we don't say hey, Brother Mark.
Hey, for the horses.
You know, assalamu alaikum. I don't know about no hey.
It's bad hour.
I know. I was like, Mark's going to sing a song for you. Tony's going to show you a thing or two.
Any album.
Assalamu alaikum, family. What's the word? How y'all doing?
I miss you all.
Yes, miss you all too. Wow.
As you can see, we're not short on comedians. I am Brother Mark X, and of course, I want to properly greet everyone with our nation's greetings of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wow.
Which simply means peace be unto you. I want to introduce all of our co-hosts here, and starting with the brother on screen.
We're all on screen.
Who is kind of like next to me. He's like on my level.
Oh gosh.
Is Brother Philip. He has those wonderful glasses on. Yeah, man, I'm jealous. But I did Brother Philip Muhammad. He is a wonderful brother. He is very well scripted in the knowledge and the wisdom, and we are fortunate to have him as a long-term co-host of our show. How you doing, Brother Philip?
By Allah's grace and mercy, dear brother, I'm doing spectacularly well.
Praise be to Allah.
All right, and then the brother above Brother Philip, who is a brother of so many talents, and he is one of the hardest working brothers in our nation that I know. Even though he's so modest, he will not allow me to talk about him.
I have no idea what you're talking about hard work.
But let's welcome our dear brother. Well, you're a hard-working brother to me.
I'll take the credit right now.
Brother,
and all praises due to
Tony
Allah.
Muhammad.
All praises due to
all
Allah.
praises
due to Allah.
Always an honor and a pleasure to be among greatness.
Awesome. I feel that. I receive it.
Give thanks. Praise be to Allah. I am great.
And back and black by popular demand, our dear sister who we dearly miss, who's been away for just a little while, but she's back as stronger and more powerful as ever. Our dear beautiful sister Alicia Muhammad. How you got, my sister?
By Allah's grace, so grateful, thankful, expanding, and enjoying the bounties of my Lord. Yes. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Ooh.
Hallelujah.
Which one of them would you deny?
I don't have the courage.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And last but certainly not least, man,
Well,
our dear sister.
Soldier.
She is a tremendous asset to this program, and serves so she serves with love, and you feel the love even when she has to deliver something to us sound like other than love, but she always love. Our dear sister Kalila Muhammad. How are you, my sister?
By Allah's grace and permission, I'm thankful for life and more abundantly. I think that this will be, to me, a very beautiful topic because I think that my dear sister, who we are about to introduce to the show, has actually has actually profounded in her purpose, and I think that her purpose is kind of a similar connection to what I think my purpose is as well. But we are going to identify that on this show today. So look, tune in because you want to see purpose in the making.
On that note, Sister Kalila,
Yes,
see,
sir.
now you're getting me excited. You know what you need to do right now. Those of you tuning in, bring it up. You need to subscribe. You need to share.
That's
I didn't say maybe. You need to.
Yes.
Share it with those that you love. Share it on your page. It doesn't cost anything to share it on your social media page.
That's right. That's right.
We're guiding people to information that will save lives. And here we're talking about working our purpose in life, which many of us are walking around. And I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe, just maybe, by tuning in, it'll give you vision, and those that you share it with, it'll give them vision. So we hope and pray that you do exactly that, dear family.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
Praise.
And we're actually
going. Take us further.
Let's go ahead and go further. Well, dear family, let me just open up properly. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God, to whom holy praises are forever due, the Lord of the worlds, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, the Supreme Being, to whom holy praises are forever due. I am forever thankful to Almighty God Allah for his raising from among us and showing his divine favor of Black people, the aboriginal peoples of the earth, raising from among us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the exalted Christ, and now Mahdi, the eternal leader of the nation of Islam. And I thank them both for preparing one that would be the guiding example for us in our midst today, the Messiah of Allah's Christ, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Buenas noches. Sak pase. Free the land. Abaragani. Whatever your greeting is, we're greeting you in that great greeting right now. Welcome to Thursday Night Talks, headed up by the 7th Region Coalition to Help Save Lives. The 7th Region Coalition to Help Save Lives was assembled and put together by Student Regional Minister, Student Minister Patrick Muhammad, in the midst of the, really soon after the Criterion message, but in the midst of the pandemic of 2020.
That's right.
And we were assembled to help guide our people, to help save lives, warn them from a dangerous inoculation branded as a vaccine. And today we are broadcasting this broadcast. We're bringing it to you through the 9 ministries assembled by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And the 9 ministries, these were assembled in the midst of the Millions More movement. And today we're going to be focusing on the Ministry of Health and Human Services, which is very critical for us because it determines our health and well-being. The Ministry of Health and Human Services, which we need to all be about, provides for the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of the members of the society. The goals of the Ministry of Health is the fulfillment of the intention of the Creator for every human being to achieve his or her potential for both longevity and good health throughout life. Its efforts extend to the family and the community as well as the individual. We are taught, beloved family, that our Savior, Master Fard Muhammad, came to give us life and give it to us more abundantly. And that's what we are seeking as the followers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, guide our people to better health and consequently better wealth. So let's tune in, family, and tune into the live discussion. Please post your questions, post positive comments, whatever comes to your mind. We're looking forward to dialoguing with you.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much, Brother Tony. Well, Lake Salam, Sister Victoria.
Sister Victoria tuning in.
Is this my part? Is this where I come
This is
on?
your part.
Brother Philip, take it away, Brother Philip.
You know, I get excited about this part because this is that part where we get to start talking about the most powerful black newspaper, most powerful newspaper, period, that is on the planet.
What is that, Brother Philip?
The foundation of the miseducation of black people and the lies that are being told. Just see, in the Holy Quran, it says that we hurl truth at falsehood until we knock its brains out. And our tool for doing that is none other than the Final Call newspaper, the most widely distributed black newspaper in America, and the most powerful trumpet of truth that is being blasted out and published by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And this week's cover story is Above the Law. What does the recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling granting absolute immunity to America's presidents mean for a nation headed toward a volatile election and for a once mighty country continuing to unravel, as it reads on the front page of the Final Call newspaper? And we want to jump to page 3 and just give you some of the headlines in this week's Final Call newspaper. The cover story, as you read, is the continued unraveling of a great nation. And this past week, there's a landmark 6-3 Supreme Court ruling that gives unprecedented powers of immunity granted to the executive branch of the U.S. government on July 1st. The court's decision now enables sitting presidents the authority to govern the United States without fear of prosecution, given that these decisions are executed in an official capacity. What are you talking about, Brother Philip?
Please explain and profound. Please explain that, because I'm.
Go ahead, finish your thought, because
I just don't understand. Listen, because I don't understand. Maybe because my righteousness shall sustain me. But you're basically saying
no, she did. No, she did.
I had to, because right now, like you indicate, the unraveling of a great nation.
Yes.
And it is really an unraveling. You're pretty much letting us know that anybody can sit as our chief and leader of this nation and do pretty much what the heck they want to do.
That's exactly what the Supreme Court decision says, Sister Kalila. And it's landmark because of what you alluded to, which is the fact that currently there are 2 candidates that are vying to be the next president of the United States. One who is currently also known as President Joe Biden. And we don't want to talk disparagingly about the leader of this country. But
not at all.
We're not talking disparagingly about him. He had a horrendous debate the other night with
about 2 weeks ago
with former President Donald Trump,
right?
And which is calling to question whether or not he's even capable of being a president for another 4 years. That's what the Democratic Party is saying about him, which is questioning his possibility of even being that. And on the other side of him, we have President Donald Trump, who has been convicted of 30 some odd felonies, which now says that he has the ability to be president again of the United States, which now the Supreme Court ruling says that as a sitting president of the United States, that he can basically do whatever he wants to because he sits in an official capacity, which is a tremendous ruling. And you can read a lot more about that in the latest issue of the Final Call newspaper. You can also go to finalcall.com. And if you see the article that's right alongside that, this story made national, international news, whereas accusations of modern day enslavement of black siblings in West Virginia. A white couple charged with human trafficking, forced labor, child neglect, and civil rights violations of their 5 adopted black children from a homeless shelter will face trial in West Virginia on September 9th. Gene Whitefeather, imagine that, Gene Whitefeather, 62, and Donald Lance, 63, were arrested on felony charges of gross child neglect, creating a substantial risk of injury, and are currently held at South Central Regional Jail in Kanawha County on a $500,000 cash bail. The children were placed in Child Protective Services custody. These folks, and I'm going to pull up Sister Kalila, may I share the screen right quick?
Absolutely.
Because just to show folks how this made national news around the rest of the country, that couple that was there, where is that button at? So that the story actually made national news. What I was pulling up was the New York Post article where they actually had the picture of the house. That here it is right here, bum. So here's the article that appeared in the New York Post where it shows a wealthy white couple, and this is the house that they had the black children living in. How do I get rid of it? Timu always popping up on stuff. You know that?
They want you to buy, brother.
Timu always trying to get somebody. They had those children.
They taking over.
Whitefeather and Donald Ray Lance, 63. They pleaded not guilty to more than a dozen new charges, according to WCHS. But that was, and that is in the current issue in the Final Call newspaper. You can read more about it. And in the same respect, you can also see this made national and international news. And on the last Final Call newspaper article, there was a very, last week, July 4th, also marked the 94th anniversary of the coming of Allah in the person of Master Father Muhammad, to whom praises are due ever, who brought us a flag of our own. And also in the Final Call newspaper, you see our beautiful brothers there, our Supreme Captain, the National Assistant, our Imam Sultan, Brother Arif. You see the brothers that are around them, because in Chicago last week, for Muslims in the Nation of Islam, July 4th is the day that Allah appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad in Detroit, and he declared independence for the black man and woman of America. For students of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it is observed as a national holy day. And I don't know about y'all, but the FOI and the MGT in Miami, Florida, hit the streets and gave out over 500 dinner plates and helped to serve those that are less fortunate in our community. And Muslim brothers and sisters, FOI and MGT, all around the globe and all around the country did the same thing as they went out. And so those are a few of the stories in the Final Call newspaper that you can read up on. And our brother Mark, is going to take us a little deeper into the center article.
Come on, Brother Mark.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you, Brother Philip. The center article, in my humble opinion, is the key and the best article, because it is at the heart of the Final Call newspaper, and it always comes from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And for that particular paper, the center article is entitled "The Question of Integration versus Separation." And so Just to give you a little tidbit that you need to go to the final call to read this article, we have to understand, according to the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan, the difference between these words. And so, for example, the word segregation, he says, is separation by an inferior by a superior. But when you look at the word separation, he says it's a little different from segregation. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said to us that separation is a voluntary act done by two equals who realize that they cannot get along in peace. So they come to a decision that is best for us to separate. You go your way, and I go mine. So we got to understand, family, the difference between these words. And the minister beautifully explains that in this center article. And we certainly want to look at that other word called integration. So he says the word integrate or integration conveys a similar meaning. People who are separate, we want to make them whole, so we develop a policy that will bring them together. So in mathematics, when you want to, he says, well, in mathematics, it's the process of finding the least common denominator. So you will understand, family, that from the teachings of Most Elijah Muhammad, we've been in America for over 400 years, and we have not been successfully integrated. And so read the Final Call newspaper, read the center article where the minister will take you deeper into this topic, and you can get a true understanding why we celebrate in the Nation of Islam our independence this past 4th of July, as our Savior came to us and declared our independence from our oppressors. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. Thank you.
Allah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a question that we all are going to have to deal with, the question of separation. And it sounded highly controversial when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in so many words, said it's more important to teach your children separation than it is prayer. That's how far and how much we have to begin to get our thinking. And Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Only ourselves can free our minds. The emancipation of the mind is the first step towards separating. So anyhow, I just wanted to add that in before we move any further. Yes, sir.
As we transition to introduce our guest tonight, and she's really not a guest. She's really a part of the 7th Region Coalition.
Oh, yes.
That's right. That's right.
First of all, hold on, back up. The First Lady.
I love
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
But let me just quickly say this because of the two articles that you highlighted in the beginning. And it just so much matches the centerfold article because the Supreme Court is all divided up. That decision about granting the president that kind of power, Sotomayor herself was against it and spoke very vocally against it. The Supreme Court is divided up. It just makes me think of the book of Matthew where it says, if Satan casts out Satan, how can his kingdom stand?
That's right.
And so we already see enough people out there are really not with this, especially our people who are interested in justice. And so, and that other article, Brother Philip, that's like, what, we're going back to slavery? Maybe that's a sign.
Not going back. It's in effect.
It's in effect.
Yeah.
It's in effect.
And you know, there was actually an episode of ATL. If y'all ever see that TV show ATL, Childish Gambino, there actually was an episode a few years ago where it showed these two liberal white women who were living together, who were adopting black children, and they were using them as slaves. Go back and see that episode of ATL. And we think that some of this stuff is far-fetched, and it's not, man. It's really what's happening on the underskirts of America. And slavery, Sister Soldier told us years ago, slavery is back in effect. Slavery is back in effect.
With that, Brother Philip, we're gonna go ahead and introduce our beloved sister.
Yes, yes.
Now, she was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts. This is Sister Elia Muhammad. Born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and raised in Washington, D.C., Sister Elia Muhammad became registered in the Nation of Islam in 1990 after completing high school. She is married to our student regional minister, the seventh regional minister of the Nation of Islam, Patrick Muhammad. They are parents to 6 children and they have 5 grandchildren. She is a certified nursing assistant for 7 years. She's a realtor. She's an insurance adjuster. She's a
Wow.
notary. She's an author. She's an undercover poet. And
Wow.
most recently, certified death doula. Please
Wow.
welcome to
Good
this
God
platform,
Almighty.
Sister
Bring her on.
Elia Muhammad.
And
Yes,
the crowd goes wild.
Allahu Akbar.
You all are
Allahu Akbar.
amazing. Amazing.
Let's see her. Let's see her.
I tell you,
Praises.
that was very, very simple, Brother Tony. Thank you so much for keeping it simple.
praise be to Allah.
Praises be to Allah. Well, first of all, I'm. It's an honor, and a privilege to actually have you on the show. And I know you don't do many shows. That's why I'm honored. I'm kind of like I have goosebumps right now because you're on the show with us. It's kind of like having royalty in your midst, right? And I'm just honored, and I'm so pleased to actually have you on the show. Um, but I really want to, before we go any further, I want to really highlight you being an author. Um, because a lot of times when you're an author, and I'm striving to be one, I think Sister Felicia actually petitioned me to be an author. And I'm like, what should I talk about? I don't know. But you have mastered that energy of being an author. And I just wanted to highlight your book. Um, so please allow me to share. And right now, the book is in my cart. Probably by the end of the our talk, it would have been. It's going to be actually ordered. But I want to talk about your book in regards to purpose is ageless.
Mm.
I wanted to kind of understand, first of all, the title. Why did why this title? Because you wear so many hats, and by you wearing so many hats, purpose is ageless. That's something that I was like, I got to ask her, where did this title come from? It's a beautiful title, but please expound, what does that title represent?
Absolutely. Purpose is ageless is very significant to me, and I believe it's very significant to many men and women out there. When I went through the stage of being a first empty nester, right, which means your children are grown and they leave home, I went through a slight depression, to be honest.
Mm,
That was a time when people would say, well, your children are grown now. This is your time. You and your husband can go do this. You can do that. And you should be, you're free. You don't get up. You don't have to get up and, do lunch or dinner for them, breakfast, getting ready for school, all this stuff. They were just running down everything. And I'm like, you know what I mean? In my mind, I'm like, something ain't quite right. Like, I'm not feeling this. I went through a depression because I was, being a mother is such a sacred thing,
mm,
and it's a heavy responsibility, and it is the most important job of any woman, right?
mm,
And so I started missing my children. When you go, I started having my children at a young age, and they were stair steps. And so been a mother since practically my adulthood, right? My the beginning of my adulthood. And so when it was at a point where as though, yeah, I didn't have to get up to make breakfast. I didn't have to worry about them with school and get things situated in the, you know, the whole 9 yards. I missed calling their names, you know. Naji, go do the dishes. Sakina, did you do your homework? Ahmed, take out the trash. Aziz, make your bed. Like Khalid, what are you doing? What's all that noise? Like, I missed saying my children's names, just trying to figure out, now at the age, well, at that time at the age of 50, I was like, wow, like what's next for me? Of course, I still have my husband. I'm still a wife. I'm technically still a mother, but not in the aspect of raising them any longer. And I was just trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to be doing? I haven't even worked in the field that I wanted to be working in like I wanted to because of the children, So, I just went into a depression, and I went on a fast, and I prayed, and I asked Allah to help me, to, get back on track and what my purpose is. And it came to me, right? It actually came to me through that fast. And I started thinking, you know what? I cannot be the only 50-year-old who is going through this. I am not the first woman that has had children, and I won't be the last. You mean to tell me all women are just, blowing up balloons and just throwing up their feet when their children leave home, and they, like, everybody's just so joyous? No, you can't tell me that. You know what I mean? I know I can't be the only one that's missing their children in that whole motherly aspect, and so that's where the book came in mind. I wanted women to understand that it doesn't matter how old you are. Some people are really fortunate. They find out what their purpose is at a younger age, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a purpose because you didn't figure it out in a younger age. Sometimes life gets in the way. When we're all small, we say we want to be this when we get bigger. We want to be to do that. We, this, that, or whatever. And then we meet some man that you fall in love with, and that takes a little detour there. And then you start having children. It's another detour. So, it doesn't mean that you didn't have a purpose to your life now that you're older and your children are grown and it's just you and your mate, or even if you're by yourself. If you're older and you don't know what your purpose is, it's never too late to find out what it is. You know what I mean? Too many of us settle. We're older. My time has passed. You know what I mean? And they just you're really not happy. Like, you're just kind of coursing life now. You know what I'm saying? You're just kind of coursing through life and not trying to figure out that it has even a greater meaning still. You right? You still have time. So it's ageless, and I wanted to imprint that in women's heads. It's ageless. It doesn't matter when you find out what it is. Just seek it, and seek it hard, and live it when you find it. So that was where that came from, the title, because that was my story.
So Sister Elias, in saying that, I have a question for you. One, well, actually a double question. One, is it a novel? Is it fiction or nonfiction? And who is Diana?
Okay. So in the book world, you have novels, you have novellas, you have short stories. And my book is more like a short story. And I put it that way purposely because I'm not, although I wish I had the time to read novels, right? They're so interesting, but I never have the time to finish a novel. So I pick up a short story quick, something that's to the point. I can get something out of it, put it down, and on to the next, right? That's what I get my book to be, something quick, something easy to read, so it's a short story in the book world, right?
Right.
And Diana, I want to get straight to Diana. Diana is, it's non-fictional and fictional. Now that kind of will blow you away. And what I mean by that is that it has some fiction in it, things that were totally made up in my own imagination, and then it has some truth of my life and my mom's life.
Mm.
Diana was my mom, and she passed away. I've already outlived my mother. She passed away at 43 years old, and I'm 52 at this point. And my mom was a beautiful, beautiful woman, inside in particular and outside, right? Mom was the type of woman who was always like looking for love, right? And she gave a lot of herself, but she was considered the black, almost like the black sheep of the family, because
Mm.
she was a free spirit too. So she
Mm.
did all sorts of things, try things out. She
Mm.
was all about just living life.
Yeah.
And as mom got older and was seeking love, um, it wasn't always reciprocated back to her.
Mm.
She was heartbroken a lot.
Mm.
And just like with many, you got a pretty face, you draw a lot of men your way, they just wasn't good men. They never took the time to really get into her. So mom later on became an alcoholic. And mom, still having the beauty of her structure, she still attracted men, but now, especially with her drinking, now she's really attracting the bad men, right? Men that aren't going nowhere or trying to go nowhere. They have problems as well. They're drinking, they're doing whatever. So mom was abused. And my brother and I witnessed my mother being domestically abused when we were small. And it was really hurtful, but again, we were too young to really help mom. So there were times when mom would go try to get away from some of these men, and we would be in and out of shelters. And I
Mhm.
would many times in shelters with abused women. And I would see as a young girl women whose faces were burnt off by acid, because men were like, if you're not with me, you're not going to be. And they would, try to leave a scar on them or whatever the case is, seeing bruises, black eyes, all sorts of things going on, right? As a young girl, I witnessed all that. So it was really hurtful, because once my mother passed away, um, I didn't have her in my adulthood like I really needed her to be. And
Mm.
but I had so much from her, because she
Mm.
taught my brother and I basically how to be mannerable. Like a lot of people think, oh, Sister Elia, you're so mannerable, and we kind of just attribute it to our journey in the nation, which of course my journey in the nation has influenced it even more. But my mom is the one that put that in me. My mom didn't play. She made sure we had manners. She made sure that we were nice and was grateful. Like, she was a beautiful woman. She spent time with us. Like, she was just a beautiful mom, except when she drank, right? She was a
Mm.
and so it was just sad that nobody really, well, a lot of people didn't get to witness my mother in her in her greatness, right? And so my book was dedicated to my mother, and who's very precious to me. And I added some of her life with domestic. The main character's name in the book is Octavia, and her life gets turned around by a woman that she met who was domestically being abused, whose name was Diana. So I used my mother in a way to inspire somebody else in finding their purpose in life. And so that's how that came about.
Wow.
Thank you
Mm.
so
Thank
much
you
for
for
that.
sharing.
Wow, Win,
Thank you
that's
for that, Sister
beautiful.
Elia.
Yeah.
And if you would allow us, we wanna go in a sort of a different direction right now. You as Sister Kalila said it, and Brother Tony read in the bio. You have so many different hats that you wear: insurance adjuster, author, real estate. But this one really gets me, Sister Elia. This is the one I want to talk about, Sister Elia. A death doula. What
Yes.
is a death doula, and how did you become one?
Mm. Yes. So a death doula, which is also called a death walker in some
Mm.
places, it's also an end of life care doula.
Ah,
Is basically a person that is a non-medical professional who can provide like emotional, spiritual, practical, and holistic support to families and individuals who are approaching the end of life.
Mm. Okay.
I became a death doula many years ago, to be honest. I have a certificate as a death doula, and I only got that certificate. Let me tell you, I got that certificate because, you know, in this life, people, you know, they like to see that you're certified or got a degree,
Ooh, ooh,
you know, feel like you know what you're talking,
right.
right? But I have been
Absolutely.
doing death doula work for many, many years. Um,
Mm.
back even when I was a CNA, but I worked in nursing homes, I worked in hospice, and I've always been put in positions to deal with those that are transitioning and
Mm.
also dead. You know, I've been trained in our nation to be one that cleanses the bodies, wraps the bodies right before janaza is taking place. You know, so
Mhm.
I'm very comfortable, Brother Philip and family, with the dead, with the whole. I'm very comfortable with my own immorality, if that makes sense. You know, I'm very comfortable with being with those who are transitioning and comforting them. I always have. And one of the reasons, and I would say it's the main reason for me, okay, not every doula maybe has the same story, but for me, I've always been fascinated and interested with the other side, the spirit world. See, in the Holy Quran, Allah says that He's the Lord of all the worlds. He didn't say world, He put an S, which means plural. So there's
Mhm.
many worlds out there. This is the physical world. But when our souls go back to Allah, as we're taught, that's a whole nother spiritual world,
Mhm.
right? And I've always been fascinating with that. And you know, not to be spooky, but I'm going to be transparent. This is just who I am and what I do. You know, ever since I was a little girl, you know, I
Mhm.
would see my brother and I both. We would see like spirits on walls. You know, we would have little spiritual experiences, even in my adulthood. You know, not to get into all of them, but I would always talk to God, even as a child. And I remember, and I bring this one up because this one's very near to me. And this is when I was younger. I was maybe in the sixth grade. And because I was going through a lot of things at home, I always was really close to God, although I didn't know his name, right? I would just
Mhm.
say,
Mhm.
and I was talking to God one day when I was leaving school. And because by our school, there was like a Burger King. And my mother would give me a couple of dollars to get like a sandwich or something on the way home from school. Because a lot of the children were going over there. Because the elementary school that I went to also had junior high and high school. So it was a big school, right? And so one day I'm going to Burger King before I go home. And I'm talking to God. And I'm like, God, I'm going to be good to everybody. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be helpful. I'm going to do good. Watch, I'm going to be, you know, I'm just talking to God. That's how I was, right?
Mhm.
And sure enough, I get to Burger King and I order my favorite, a Whopper Junior, right?
Mhm.
I get my Whopper Junior on a tray and I'm going to the seat, which is like around from the cashier place. And of course, since I'm going over there, I see my surroundings, right? Let
Mhm.
me tell you something, family. I sat down with my tray and I opened my box of my Whopper Junior. And as quick as I opened my box, I heard a voice say, "Can I have some?" It was a deep voice, and it almost it like gave me goosebumps, right? And so
Mhm.
I looked up like this, and it was this tall man. And now, in retrospect, when I think about it, I think he was just tall because I was sitting down and I was small. But you know, I'm looking up and he seems really tall and he looked like he was a homeless man because his clothes were tattered, right? And they had holes in them, but he didn't have a stench, right? He didn't look dirty. And I immediately said no. And I put my head down like to my burger and I put my head back up. He was gone.
Mm.
Take it or leave it alone, family. It don't really matter to me. My experience is my experience, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Tell you,
Indeed.
Mhm.
I got up, and that's how you know it's God testing you. Because immediately when I looked up and that man was gone, in my little old head, I heard my words. God, I'm going to be nice to everybody. I'm going to help everybody. That came in my thoughts right away. I got
Mhm.
up and I went to the front. When you come in, the guy was gone. The Burger King had windows. He was nowhere in sight. So there's no way that this man just disappeared like that. That was one, very near dear spiritual experience I had. And then growing up, I've heard my name called, I've been touched, all sorts of stuff. So I'm just really into the whole spiritual, honor my ancestors. You know what I mean? I do incense and candles and all of that. That's just who I am. So I'm very comfortable with those souls that are about to transition back to Allah, and also the bodies once they do.
Yes,
That's
with
Well,
with the
Some-
permission with the permission of the coalition, if I could ask a question just in regards to what Sister Elia just mentioned right now, because Sister Elia, when we're living in this country, or really all of the Western Hemisphere, we were brought here. We're taught about a mystery God and a mystery heaven, and we're here suffering, and then we're killed, we're lynched, we're suffering in our death. I drive through states like Mississippi, where we experience the highest number of our people being murdered by the enemy. Does the spirit know where to go? Or is it, here we're dealing with science because it's energy, divine energy? Or does it become, do we know where to go under that kind of state of mind? Or does the energy become trapped?
Hmm. Very good question, Brother Tony, but that's a question, dear brother, that I cannot answer.
Yes,
I have absolutely no idea what happens once the soul goes back to Allah. According to our teachings, now um, I do have my own thoughts. You know what I mean? Because I've been asked this many times, and suffering and being lynched and all this other stuff. Yeah, I can't answer that for you, but I will tell you, Brother Tony, I really believe this is me. Okay, that of course the souls go back to Allah, but I really believe that Allah recycles souls, right? I don't believe in reincarnation because our messenger told us that does not happen, right? And reincarnation is different from incarnation. Reincarnation is when you believe that a soul can come back as a worm, a butterfly, a leaf, whatever, right? There's certain places in the world where you can go, they won't even allow you to step on a worm because they'll pick it up and they'll kindly say, no, 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 this could have been my mother in another lifetime. That's reincarnation. We don't believe in that according to what our teachings are. However, I believe in incarnation. Humans come back as humans, right? And I have that belief because, there's people that have not only near-death experiences, but they have things of past lives. And I followed and documented so many people that have had past lives. And there's no way. Now, again, some people are lying, right? Some people are scammers. Some people are crazy, right? I get it. They're out there. But everybody's not. You know what I mean? How does a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old tell you that you're my second mommy, and then they tell you what their mommy's name was, what street they lived on, and how they died? And then the mother go and look it up, and sure enough, there was a David living on 14 Myers Street and died in an airplane crash in 1940. Like, how does a 4-year-old tell you that? There's multiple of cases of that. So to each his own. But those are my personal things that I get into.
Fascinating.
Well, Sister Elia, I could see Sister Felicia up there in that top corner. She breathing deep. I think you are right in her frequency right
You
about
are.
now. That's what it looked like to me,
This is
Sister
right
Yes.
up Alan.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we also had our brother who made a comment. I didn't see brother's name, but he said he wasn't expecting for this conversation to go so deep. He was like, "Hey, whoa, Seventh Region Coalition, where y'all going with this?" There he is, Brother Kokai. Brother Kokai. He said, "I was not prepared for this discussion to be this deep. Wow, this is only for the mature." And I see him up there. But I think we had another question for you. Who's on deck next?
Kalila.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still intrigued.
Right.
Um, since we are, constantly changing and evolving, can you share with us how Allah nurtured you to uncover this current phase of your purpose as a deaf doula?
Mm. I love how you stated that nurture, how Allah nurtured me. That's beautiful, and He indeed nurtured me in this by always putting me in a position to help those that are dying. I'm
Mm,
always put in that position some kind of way, you know, and I've just embraced it,
mm,
right? I do good with it. And so I really believe that's how Allah nurtured me and allowing me to understand that it's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to care about people that are passing away. They need that support.
mm,
So that's the best I can say as far as him nurturing me, putting me in that position all the time. You
mm.
know, all the time, always put in that position. Sometimes like, oh my goodness, how this happen? You know?
Right. And a lot of things with purpose don't you really don't have an answer for it. You just feel good within it. So sometimes it's like I just know it is and
Right,
be it is.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah.
praises be to Allah. Thank you, Cecilia.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sister Felicia.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Sister Elia, thank you so much for being the soul that you are. And yes, we are kindred spirits. I knew it when I first met you some years ago. So,
Glory to Allah.
yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. So, real quick, well, not real quick, but in present time, my question is, as you're providing care for loved ones, that are growing older and it's increasing, what led you to the calling to this line of work? And you sort of, answered some of that, but can you go a little bit deeper and share with us?
What led me to the calling?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think that the best way I could answer that, sister, is a lot of people don't get the opportunity to die with dignity,
Mm,
right?
mm,
They
Mm,
don't get the
mm,
opportunity to die with dignity, and having the time to consider what that means to them,
yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
important. It is important to stay alive, but it isn't and shouldn't always be the end goal. It shouldn't be assumed as the end goal. What do I mean by that? Right? If I'm dying and I didn't put my directives in place, you know what I mean? You got family
Mhm,
who love
mhm,
me, they feel like they're doing the best by me, right? But now
mhm.
I have a heart attack or my heart stops, or you keep resuscitating me and keep resuscitating me and this, that, like that's that's not dying with dignity. You know what I mean? I mean, that's okay if that's your choice. You may tell your loved ones, yes, keep resuscitating me. I want
R&R, R&R, right.
exactly. You know what I mean? That's not a problem. But a lot of times people don't get the opportunity to state what they want.
Mm,
And that's why a death doula is very important in a lot of cases because, as I was saying before the show started, um, you have family members who love you, right? They don't want you to go, which is
Right.
understandable, right? They don't want you to
mhm,
go, right? So a lot of times, they come and they're crying, they're resentful, you know what I mean? They don't want you to go. That mama, here, mama, drink this soup. You got to have your energy. Eat this food. You gotta,
Mm,
you know what I mean? But
mhm.
when a person is dying, that your digestive system is the first thing that goes.
that's
Why? Because
right.
your body knows how to die. You only
Right.
need food for energy. So if you're
Mm,
shutting down, your body won't take the food. If mama and dad and whoever doesn't want to eat, don't force them. Don't force them. The
mm,
body knows what to do. So you're doing more
mm.
harm than good. because you're
Beautiful
being
teacher.
emotional. You know what I mean? This is your loved one. You know, you're trying to keep them, you're trying to sustain them. So a
Mm.
you know, coming in without having all those emotions attached, you know, but very caring, you know, but
Yeah.
has focus, you
Yeah.
know, and is able to kind of help direct the family, help them to understand certain things. They really help, you know. Um, there's there's a lot of things that, you know, people don't realize. Like, if you've been told, like, of course we work with the elderly, but the elderly is not the only people that die. You may get
Right.
diagnosed with something that's going to kill you. They may say 6 months you have to live, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They may say a year, you know. So if somebody tells you that you got 6 months to live, what do most people want to do? Well, first of all, you're going to pray to Allah. You're going to try to beat that, you know what I mean, that time period that they're trying to put on you, because Allah is the best knower. However, at the same token, what do you really want to do? Most times you want to what? Go by an ocean. You want to do all the things that you didn't have time to do before, as far as nature's concerned. You want to see the
Right.
sunrise. You want to see the sunset. You want to go by the ocean. You want to be at peace. You want to be surrounded by your family members. You know what I mean? You know, like, when do you get time to talk about this?
Mm.
So people, you know, they don't want to stay up in bed. They don't want to be in a hospice. Dying has never been a hospital experience.
Mm.
Never been that.
Mm.
Yes, there's situations where a person has to be in a hospital, but it really shouldn't be.
Oh,
It really
Allah.
shouldn't be. It's never meant to be a hospital experience. Dying should be a beautiful experience. Yes, it's sad, but it can be a beautiful spiritual experience.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
you know, people have the right to tell you, okay, like, for instance, for me, you know, the way I want to go, you know, I already said there's different burials that you can have. There's green burials, right? There's also stuff like living funerals. Do you know
Mhm.
that people around the world, they have living funerals all the time? What is
Wow.
that? Right? What is that? That's
Yeah.
the question. A
Oh,
living funeral is when you know that you're going to be passing away, whether you've been
Mhm.
diagnosed or you're old, right?
Mhm.
And you know your time is coming. So you get with either your family or a doula. Usually we promote it because some people don't even know this stuff exists, right?
Mhm.
And they call on all their family members to come. Just like when you pass away, the families come, they fly in, they come in, you know what I mean, to
yep,
your
yep,
funeral. Well, a living funeral, I'm still here.
Yep.
And have it in wherever you want to have it, you know, in your
Mhm.
house or wherever else. And
Yeah.
they come and you all eat, you break bread together, and your family gets time to come and talk to you and tell you how much you meant to them.
come on.
Mm.
They come, and
Mhm.
all the people that's crying at your funeral, the minister said a lot of times you're crying because you have things that you know you
Did-
didn't work out with that
Mm.
Mhm.
person,
Mhm.
right? Well,
That
guess what?
part.
At
Yeah.
the funeral, you give that person an opportunity to come and tell you face to face while you're living, I'm sorry, right?
Mm.
I regret us being like this, or whatever the case is. So a lot of people have living funerals where the person can hear how they
Yeah.
impacted other people's life and what they meant. So
Yeah.
people who are dying, a lot of times they don't even know that exists. You know what I'm saying? That exists,
Mhm.
right? A
Yeah.
grief burial. You know, like I
Mhm.
said, I don't want to be. Of course, I'm Muslim, so I'm going to have the whole janazah. But guess what?
Mhm.
Don't put me in a casket because I want a green burial. I want
Yeah.
to either be wrapped again like a mummy, right? Just my
Mhm.
face showing, and I want to be put right in the ground. It takes a
Right.
certain amount of months for worms to get through that casket to start feeding on that flesh, right? It's a
Mhm.
natural way of life.
Right.
Don't let the worms eat on me. You know what I mean? But this is me. See, but I have people need to know you have an option. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
let the worms eat. I'm not there no more. Why give them problems to get to me? You know what I mean? So just wrap me, put me in the
Right.
ground, let them feast. You know what I'm saying? I'm back to the earth, literally, right? Or some
Yeah.
cemeteries won't allow you to be put right in the ground, so you have to be put in something. Okay, well, if that's the case, they do have cardboard caskets, right? They have
Yes.
pine wood, all this
Yes.
natural stuff that will just, disintegrate in the earth, as
Yes.
Mhm.
opposed to the the metals that we're putting
Right.
around with these caskets. Now you're putting toxins in the ground. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's a
Right.
lot of things that people don't know that you can do, for your funeral or while you're dying. I want to
Yeah.
say this too, and I know we have some more questions. One of the couple of things that we do as death doulas, we help facilitate legacy and life reviews. Well, what does that
Mm.
mean, right? That means when somebody knows that they're dying, we can get with you and we can go over a review of your life where you can write down, your memories. You can put them in a journal. You can do pictures. And just make like a poster board or something. Like people really enjoy doing stuff like that. There was this one lady. She was dying of cancer. She was in her 40s. She had 3 children and a husband. She was given a certain amount of months to live. And the thing that she wanted to do, and she didn't know that she didn't even think about this until it was, we brought it up, right? But she wrote a letter to all of her children at different pivotal times in their life. So once they graduated from high school, they can open a letter from their mom. I'm proud of you. You did it. This, that, whatever, whatever. You know what I mean? When they graduated from college, when they got married, when they had their first child, all the pivotal moments of their life, they had words from their mother. That meant everything to them and meant everything to her to be able to do. You know what I'm saying? These are things that people can do. They not just sit around and die and do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Make a legacy. They can tell you how they want to do their vigil, right? And that's what I love, the vigils, because the vigils are when you get a plan with the patient and a plan with the family, right? On what in their last days of active dying, what do they want? Do they want the candles? Do they want the incense? Do they want certain lighting? Do they want certain music? Do they want the crystals? Do they want the singing bowl? Whatever. You know what I mean? Do they want like herbs and or they want to talk about God? A lot of people, they don't start even thinking about God until they know that they're passing. They will ask you questions. They may want to do rituals that their family's accustomed to. So these are things that death doulas help do that the medical professions don't. Hospice is needed. You feel hospice care, palliative care is needed. I get it. Some people need medications. I get it. But there's other things that people can do while they're dying, as opposed to just sitting up in a hospital or sitting at home dying, right?
Mm.
So Sister Elia, you said so much there. And in terms of the rituals and whatnot, being a Muslim and dealing with death is so different from many different religious traditions. Do you ever find conflict or tension at times when doing this work with people of other faiths? And do you even work with people of other faiths? What's that like for you when you find yourself dealing with folks that have a different religious tradition as it relates to death and rituals and things like that?
Right, right. I have worked with people of other faiths, and Brother Philip, it's important to remember as a death doula that you have to be with a person without being judgmental, right? You have to accept their emotions and not try to change them, not try to fix it. You have to truly listen to what they're saying and allow them to say it. You know what I mean? Allow them their beingness and allow them to believe in whatever they believe in. It's not a death doula's position to try to convert someone while they're on their deathbed. You
Damn.
know what I'm saying? Why would you try to convert somebody and put on what you believe while they're on their deathbed? That's their deathbed.
Right.
Unless they ask you, now you can go past the red tape. But other than that, if I'm believing in something my whole life, and now I'm passing away, and here comes some death doula who may be a Muslim, and now you're going to try to change what I've been believing in my whole life on my deathbed. You're going to,
Wow.
get me thinking, and I'm confused, and and no, allow them their beingness. That is what a death doula has to be. It's called allowing them to hold space, right? Allow them to hold space. That's what we do. So it doesn't matter, what religion or what faith base they're in. You are there to cater to them. What does the dying want for them?
That's great.
Praises be to Allah. You
We,
know, go ahead. I'm
we
sorry.
Sister Kalila, we do have a question from our
Oh,
student regional minister, Sister Elias'
Oh,
husband.
all right, all
And
right.
I would like to read this one right here. It says here, my dear wifey, that's to Mr. Patrick. How long did it take you to publish your magnificent book? Were they some were there some obstacles or challenges? If so, how did you overcome them?
Interesting.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, sweetie. Um, yes, it took me about 3 years to finish my book, and that is because uh, I I got carried away with other things. You know what I mean? There was some challenges that I was going through as far as like work and household things. Um, yeah, I just wasn't dedicated like I should have been. So when I started writing the book, I took a lot of breaks. Yes. Yes, honey.
look. I think Brother Minister already knew that answer. He,
And so, Sister Elia, the last part of it, of the question, and how did you overcome those challenges?
yes, that's a good question. Now
Yes.
that's a good question.
Well, I needed to be focused. So, as time went on, I started feeling really bad within myself, saying, I need to finish my book. Number one, it's something that I dedicated to my mom, you know what I'm saying? And I set out to do it. Like a lot of times I'm gung ho. And then when things come my way, I put it down. And sometimes I put it down for too long, and I just started beating myself up, Um, time's going on, I'm getting older, I need to finish this book. And so that's what I did. I became focused again, and yeah, yeah.
Well, you're definitely walking down my street because I have did that from the past, but I'm not no longer doing that now because I have learned that procrastination can also be sinful,
Mhm.
especially if God is guiding you to do things and you put things down because you feel like something is priority over what God wants you to do.
Correct, correct.
So I got really tormented by the concept of procrastination. But I wanted to expound on purpose and um, my question to you because I have fallen in love with the art of wrapping rituals of the departed. Um, and it seems like you have already answered this question, but I have been blessed to rep some of the beautiful pioneers that have been so dear to my heart and dear to others. And it's really a wonderful experience. And this is where I'm not questioning it, Sister Elia. I'm not questioning it. It's like really, it's one of those like when you identify what it is, it's like really, talking to a God, like really.
Mhm.
And when my best friend called me and said that my mother passed away, and I know she's a Christian, but Kalila, I just want you to um, clean her body before she goes to the morgue.
Hmm.
And I was like, cool, no problem. I'm on my way. And when I got there, everybody was like, you're going to touch the body? I'm like,
Mhm.
why not? And it was such a beautiful experience. I prayed to Allah. Um, I completely seek refuge in Him. And I had my own oils, some frankincense, and she was like, well, I want her to wear this. And I was like, well, unfortunately, I can't put her on this because the body has swelling. it has swollen, so I won't be able to put on this. But I think I have an idea what we can do before she goes to the morgue. And then I actually clean the area where she is. And going back to what you're saying, a lot of people, as far as nursing homes and hospitals, I do not recommend those places. Now, if it's something that is a need and there is not a house or a fulfilling place where the body can transition, because I literally had to clean the the room where
Yes.
this sister's blood was still on the floor and they did not even wipe it up. So the last memories of their mother passing, and you see her blood on the floor, that did something to me. That that made me so upset, to where there has to be some form of hospitality or some type of understanding where at the end of the day, I don't want to remember my mom by her side and still see walking in her blood. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
immediately cleaned the room. Um, and I washed her multiple times for so I can feel like she's going to be clean and and feeling good and smelling good. You know, I wipe, of course, any type of residue from the mouth, the nose, and so forth, and everything. So when they came in to see the body before she went to the morgue, they was like, "Oh my God, mom is sleeping." I feel like I can shake her right now and she will come alive because of how you positioned her and how you took care of her and how you put her in a state of rest. Um, and again, I think you have answered that question, because I know with a death doula, you at the pivotal point of the transition, but you do also. My question was, um, you do also do the services also for the wrapping as well, and I think you made mention of that.
So I love the way you told that story, Sister Kalila, is beautiful. I can
Praise
hear
be
the
to Allah.
compassion in your voice. So I can only imagine, how your performance was with that. I could really, really feel your energy. Um, yes, ma'am. I definitely have included that in my services with wrapping the body, because again, I'm very comfortable with the dead. Um, I've been trained, and I think did you get your training from the nation? Is
Honestly, I read, I studied,
okay.
I experienced with my own sister at first. She was
Hmm.
the first body that I wrapped.
Hmm.
Um, and at first I thought it was, something that was going to be like off the wall, crazy, and looking at TV does not make it any better. It's just something that you have to really experience for yourself. And then it was a request that my mom wanted me to do. So, whatever mom wants me to do, I'm going to do it regardless. But I read and I studied, and I just really bathed myself into the understanding of why certain techniques needs to happen, certain ways of the position of the body needs to happen, why you have to, wipe certain portions, why you have to insert certain portions in certain areas, you know. So when I became a student of the ritual, then it was very easy for me to now be an applicant of the practice. But no, I never got trained before.
Okay, okay. Yes, ma'am. I actually was trained in Los Angeles under one of our sister captains, Emeritus Alice, right? Sister
Yes,
Captain
yes, ma'am.
Alice Emeritus. And they trained me, sister, and I was so overwhelmed by the experience, right? I always can I be in there? Can I help? Can I do it? Can I do it? Finally, because at first they just kind of like let me observe, right? And then later on, little by little they let me do, and then finally I was doing it by myself. So I definitely um, provide that, right? If the family or the patient wants that. So everybody doesn't, everybody, has their own way that they want their loved one to go. Some people want the body to be embalmed, right? And
Right.
whole funeral thing, that's perfectly fine. I want what you want, right? But that is added to my service, right? And some death doulas don't do it. Some are not familiar with the wrap and the cleansing of the body. So let me explain this. A death doula is not regulated. It's not state regulated. So in this profession, you can pretty much do anything that you want to do of good that the patient and in their families will allow you to do. So whatever services, like I specialize in holistic. You know what I mean? Some death doulas don't. You know, they specialize in the directives. Making sure you have your will intact and all the power of attorney and all these other things. So it's not regulated in that sense. The only thing that you cannot do is prescribe medicine and give medicine, right? So
Mm.
it's non-medical professional. So if you want to wrap the body and you want to add that to your services, by all means, it's helping and you can do that.
Praises be to Allah.
Yes.
Sister Elia, we do have a couple of questions here that we want to share. One of them is your daughter, Sister Sakina. And she asked the question, what have you learned about yourself while on this journey of being an author? Taking it back to you being an author.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, baby girl. What I have learned is the fact that I have such an imagination. I have such an imagination, and um, I do think quick on my feet. Like I can actually look at something and I can create a whole story around it. You know,
Mm.
um, so that within itself, because I'm an undercover poet, as Brother Tony said earlier, right? So I can write. I knew that I could write, right? But a poem. Well, you got some people that can do. They do long poems. I do pretty short poems, but that's pretty easy. But to really sit down and write a book, and then I have to use this and use that, and I got to think of the plot, and I got to think of what the person's I got to get from that, and how I want it to end, and with the like, it really showed me that I can do it, right?
Mm.
Come on.
So that is the main thing on that journey, that I found out about myself. Not just the fact, because a lot of people want to write a book, and a lot of people would like to. You know what I mean? Everybody has a story, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be fictional. You can just talk about your real story and have a book, right? But everybody don't do it. Why? It's just not their thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a story, but everybody don't do it because it's not their thing. But it is my thing, and that's what I found out in that journey.
Praise. We have another question. Sister Kalila, your husband. He,
Oh,
he, he just
there
keeps
goes
coming
my
back every week.
baby.
All right. Brother Sean asked the question. Greetings. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sean. During a living funeral, is it possible for a person to regain energy and strength to live due to the kind words of people expressing how much you mean to them?
Mm. That's a beautiful question, babe.
Absolutely, Brother Sean. Anything is possible. Allah, who came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, came to destroy all impossibilities. So, of course, anything is possible. But you do see, like we're taught, when somebody is sick, it's the same if somebody is dying. I mean, they're dying, right? So, you don't want any negative energy there, because negative energy adds to the illness. So if somebody is dying and
Mm.
they're receiving all of this positive energy, all of this love and support, that actually brightens their spirit. Now, I've never witnessed anybody living longer, but how do I know? Because what if the doctor says, okay, you're going to live 6 months, right? And they have a living funeral and they lived 3 days after the 6 months or whatever. Who knows, but that you're putting a smile on your loved one's face. You know what I mean? You're adding to their happiness. So that within itself, it speaks volumes. That within itself is worth doing, right? I hope that answered your question or helped.
Sister Elia, quick question. It was just in regards to all of the endeavors that you are involved in. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that business is the activity of life, and I'm going to emphasize life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have been involved with various business ventures. I mean, there's some things that we didn't cover. I know that you made soap. I've bought bread from you, Sister Elia, the awesome bread that you've made. You've been involved in other business endeavors as well. Can you discuss some of your most notable and rewarding business ventures?
Well, I'm going to speak about one, right? Because I know we brought up insurance adjuster. I'm a broke insurance adjuster, but that has the potential to change. But I tell you, I would have to say real estate. Being a realtor, helping clients find, buy, sell, and lease properties has been a beautiful and a profitable venture for me.
Yes, ma'am.
I learned a lot. I've had our beautiful brother Michael Shabazz, who taught and trained me, and put a lot of energy in training me. So I really had a great experience as far as being a realtor. Right, I would have to say that.
You showed me quite a few houses when we went out, Sister Elia. You
Indeed.
saw me in action jumping fences when we couldn't find the keys in certain places.
But Tony, he is so
Black
hood.
man is God. We ain't gonna let those little obstacles take.
We going over the fence, brother Tony. So we going over the fence to get in.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful.
This is a little tidbit of information right there.
Brother Philip.
Brother Mark.
Is it on me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Come on, Brother Mark.
Brother Mark over there chilling. He like,
right.
I haven't had a question yet, so I'm just listening.
Like, brother, you a co-host and
you might as well
brother having a good time just spectating.
I'm like a sponge absorbing, and I
ain't even mad at you, brother.
Preface my question with expressing appreciation to our sister, because what she expressed tonight, I've always been curious about. Wow, is it just simply all over with death? That's it, nothing more. So I'm glad that you expressed it. You had the courage to express how you see what happens to this indestructible entity called the spirit. Matter or energy can neither be created or destroyed, is what physics says. So to Allah is our eventual return. So thank you for what you shared. It's given me a wonderful perspective. So now to my question. My question is, and you've beautifully touched on many of our questions already.
Right, you're hitting them. Like I said, you're hitting them at the park.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So, but I guess if there's anything more you can provide on this question, it says providing care for loved ones growing older is increasing. But what led you to this calling as a line of work? You probably touched on that. But from the perspective of providing care for loved ones growing older, we're in the state of Florida where many older people go to. It's a pretty high population of senior citizens in our state. So from that perspective, is that something that may have helped to lead you to that calling or anything else?
No, not from the perspective of, state of Florida, a lot of, old folks or people passing. Not definitely not that. I would be this anywhere I am on the planet. You know, it goes back to uh, dying with dignity. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like people, we just write those that are transitioning off. Um, hmm, let me see. You know, hmm, being a death doula, right? It's the song of my soul. I say that all the time, right? It's something beautiful. There's two things in life that really wow me, right? And that is one, when you see a child take their first breath, right?
Mm.
That's something that a birthing doula would experience, correct? That's
Right.
a wow moment. That's a beautiful moment. But then later on, seeing that same person take their last breath is
Mm.
also another wow moment for me. And that's something that us as death doulas get to experience. There's something, there's some sort of honor or privilege that I find in it. Seeing somebody, go through their last rites of passage, right?
Mm.
They're creating, or they're doing, or they're committing their last act of being a human, right?
Mm.
Like, to me,
Mm.
that is something powerful about that. I'm honored just to be present, to be in the room, to witness that, you know, um, especially if I had a hand in, in their transition, meaning I've exhausted some of the things that they can do. You know what I mean? Like what they want to do. Give them an opportunity to die with dignity. How do you want to die? Death is as much part of life as anything else. You can't have death without life. You can't have life without death. And so many people, especially here in America, we are so afraid of the word death. We don't even want to conversate about it. I can't tell you how many people I will talk about this because it's my passion, right? But it's not everybody's thing, so I get it, right? But I can talk about it. And so many people will say, okay, let's talk about life. Well, yeah, I am talking to me because my thing, that's part of life. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to really have a knack for it. But people here in America, we run from this whole discussion. And that's why I say death doula. There's other things that I can call myself. I can say I'm an end of life care doula. You know what I mean? That's a little bit more, tactful. I can say I'm a transitional doula, right? Why do I use death doula? Because I
Mm.
want it to be harsh. I want you to get
Mm.
what I'm saying. Death doula. Let's have a conversation about this.
You
You know
got
what I'm
my
saying?
attention.
Let's have a conversation,
Right.
thank you, about death. You know what I'm saying? Stop running from it. People in other countries, they sit down and they talk about death and how they want to die. So it should be planned for like anything else. Now, we don't know the hour and the time that we're going to pass. This is true, right? But we should still plan out how we want it. It could be in the form of a will or whatever. You feel me? But plan it. Now, you may get in a car accident and pass. So you may not even get to have that. But that's just like anything in life. I could set out to be a great basketball player. That's my plan. But lo and behold, I lose one of my legs, right? Something came up in life that took me off. So we don't know. We plan in Allah plans. He's the best of planners. But it should still be a plan, not something that just, I'm just, I just die. You know what I mean? My loved one just dies, and we do we have the casket, and I mean, you have a say so in that.
You know,
You have a say
sister,
so.
Sister Lai, that's so funny. You must be looking at my notes, man. Because I literally was like, Death Doula sounds so harsh.
Right. That's what she's like.
Like literally, that's
We
question
had to
number.
look it up. We had to do our own research before we can even answer the questions. We like, let's
I'm
look
glad
that
you
up.
said that because I was going to ask you if there were some other names that you could rename it, and there are some other ones. But you actually that's a great segue for another question as we approach the end of our show. I see some of the late night not even late night commercials, but you see the commercials for like the Shriners hospitals for little children with cancer, and that are just dedicated. We have the Joe DiMaggio Cancer Institute here in South Florida, and there are a lot of babies and children that are on their deathbeds. And are there different techniques as it relates to being a death doula in the life of children, or even, maybe even stillborn situations? How do you deal with this particular position and post and children?
Okay, honestly, Brother Philip, I can't answer that because I don't work with the stillborn babies. I
Yeah,
don't. Some death doulas do. I don't. So I can't answer that truthfully to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how about like, let's say in like cancer institutes where parents know that their babies are
Hmm.
transitioning, and
Hmm.
has that been something that you've been privy to or open to, or do you know anyone who does do that? Because I know that parents go through that, and
Hmm.
that they would need a lot of that help and assistance that you were talking about before.
Right, absolutely. I absolutely am open to that when the children are older, just not the babies and the infants, but yeah, there's a lot of cancer patients that are children. And working with a cancer child is very different because you have to deal with their parents. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Um, you're not coming with your own set of things. You're basically there to provide support and be that shoulder. Like every situation is different. You have to get in and feel how the atmosphere is. Somebody who has a child that's suffering from cancer and is going to pass away, they don't even want you to touch the child. They just
Right.
want you're basically there just to kind of be there for them. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain, but it's a little bit more technical. Now, if they're an adult that's been diagnosed with cancer and they're going to pass, then that's a whole different story. But the children, you know, yeah, it's that's something that you would have to basically decide if you want to do. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't take every case. And you have an option. If people, like when you become a death doula and somebody calls on you for that, to play that role in their life, you first go and have an interview with them. They're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them.
Hmm.
Because if to see if you're a good fit, because you may not be a good fit for this particular family, and you have to be honest about that. you know yeah, it's definitely a different scenario when you're dealing with children, period.
And
absolutely.
that speaks
Yeah.
highly of your integrity, Sister Elia. We do have another question. Well, before I go to that question right there, we have one more question, dear family. One second. Okay. Um. Oh, Brother Philip, I'm sorry. No, we're gonna go straight to we have one more question, and that's your sister. That's Sister Sakina, your daughter. She asked another question from Ahmed. I guess he didn't want to come on and ask the question himself, but she's saying, how has these teachings influenced you to take this journey in being a death doula? And I think you already answered that question partially, but how do you think that profession can impact our nation?
Oh, that's a beautiful
Now, here
question.
we're talking about the present and, of course, the future.
Yes, that's a beautiful, heavy question.
Very.
And I would definitely have to say that I want to go right to the last part because I believe that I spoke a little bit on the first part. The last part is what really is getting to me. How do you think that profession can impact our nation? I feel like it can impact our nation by allowing and helping us to understand that even though we don't have a whole bunch of information on what happens to the soul once it passes, other than we know it returns to Allah, I believe that we should still understand that we don't have to be afraid of death. You know what I mean? Because even in our great nation, and it is great, you still cannot really hold a long conversation around the topic of death. You know what I mean? We hear about the death angels being in America, yes, but still talking about really mapping it out, and how we want it to be. It's almost like, if we haphazardly, we die and we know we're going to have a janaza. However, there's still things in between that we still have options in our nation. Everything that I've talked about is not so much even for the outside, it's for our nation. You know what I mean? We need to understand that we still have options as far as what we want to be buried in, how we want to be buried. Of course, we do the whole washing and the cleansing of the body, but you don't have to be in a casket. You know what I mean? There's certain things that you can have done. You can have on your transitioning time, you can have like a whole spiritual experience with that. You know what I'm saying? Even though believers, we go and we see people that are passing away and stuff like that's beautiful, but there's things that we can still map out. You'll be surprised at how many, or maybe you won't, but how many of us pass away and we don't have things in order.
Come on, teach, beloved.
So even if you use a death doula to get things in order, because we do, that's part of our thing. We work with directives. You know what I mean? We should all have some sort of insurance. You know what I'm saying? Death insurance. We should have a will. We don't just leave things just to be, because most of us, our family are not Muslim. How many of us are babies? You know what I mean? A lot of us come from Christian families. We come from Catholic families. So if we pass away and we didn't put our things in order, then they get a hold of our body and they do whatever they want.
Ooh.
Come on.
We've had countless situations like that. So that has to be something in our nation that we have to really take serious, not just haphazardly let anything be once we die and it's on everybody else. If I'm a Muslim my whole life, I want to die a certain way too.
That's
I
right.
want to make sure my burial is a certain way. You know what I mean? I don't want my family who are not believers to have my body. All this has to be down and documented.
Yes.
Death can help with that also. So that's what I can say in regards to that. And I know time is running. I don't want us to leave without me hitting on a couple of things. Number one is the minister said that blessed is he or she that finds their purpose in life and is found living it, right? Purpose, the definition of purpose is the reason for which something is done or created for. It's in the reason why it exists, right? That's pretty much the definition of purpose. Okay, in the Bible, it says that people were created for a purpose, which is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. In Psalms 57, verse 2 says, I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. That alone lets us know that each and every one of us has a purpose to our lives. Our life's purpose is to glorify God. The problem is, family, is that we have not figured out in which aspect we are created to glorify God. You know what I'm saying? So you will find us in our nation and outside who can live our whole lives and get old, and something in us is like, man, I still feel like I haven't done something. I still feel unfulfilled. You know what I mean? Why? Because you have not found your purpose. Right? How are you going to glorify God? How are you going to glorify God? You have to, find out the things that you're passionate about, that matter to you, not somebody else. It doesn't matter what other people think. As long as you're helping, as long as you're doing good, it doesn't matter. Everybody's on a different journey when it comes to that.
Right.
Everybody's purpose is not the same. So what makes you, what you eat doesn't make me use the bathroom. So why do
Right.
I care what you think? I'm going to do what fulfills my soul and how I am giving back. And that's how I glorify God, you
Wow.
know? So
Mm.
that's what I want to leave us with. And I pray that everybody finds their purpose. You know, despite,
Praise.
yes,
Sister Elia,
Well,
can
Sister
yes,
can I
Elia,
bear
thank you so much
praise
for
Brother
that,
God.
Philip?
Sister
Can I
Elia.
can I bear witness? Can I bear witness to what Sister Elia just said? Because with people like yourself, Sister Elia, you're so important because you were right. They will do anything that they want with our bodies.
Mm,
They will do anything. I was conducting my first ever janaza um, a few years ago, and they were going to bury, according to the Muslim tradition, one of our brothers backwards. The feet are supposed to be facing uh, the east, and the head towards the west. They were going to do it the other way around, and I had to argue with the people of the cemetery. Um, Burial, preparing someone for transitioning, is such a sacred experience that the original peoples on the planet have been engaged in for thousands, if not millions of years. And it takes awesome people like yourself, Sister Elia, to continue in that great tradition. And we thank you for
praise be
committing
to
yourself to
Allah.
that tradition.
Thank you, dear
I just
brother.
wanted to say that, Brother Philip.
Well, alhamdulillah, thank you, Brother Tony. Thank you, Brother Mark. Thank you, Sister Kalila. Sister
Yes.
Felicia tapped out for a minute. We thank you, Sister Elia, for
Yes.
gracing our space with your presence. May Allah continue to strengthen you in this
That's
journey
right.
as you have strengthened us. And we have what we call the Knowledge Corner, Sister Elia, that we normally wrap our show with. And this week's Knowledge Corner is on the benefits of accepting death, because
Mm,
people can gain a deeper appreciation for life's fragility and impermanence, which can encourage them to live more fully. They may also become more grateful for life and cherish their loved ones. In doing so, you may be more likely to reprioritize your goals and your values and pursue your passions and dreams without fear. For example, people who pursue intrinsic goals may be less anxious about death and more satisfied with their lives than those who pursue material things. You may become less materialistic and more altruistic or more giving and may be more likely to help others. People may be better able to live in the moment and appreciate simple things like being in nature, looking at the sky, or spending time with family, as well as your relationships may become more intimate and authentic, and they may be less likely to let death kill special bonds prematurely. And on that note, we thank you again, our dear sister, for gracing our space with your presence. May Allah continue to bless you, bless your family on this journey. And we are not a clique. We are not,
No, 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 no,
Wait,
no, no,
Brother
no, no,
Philip.
no,
we're
no,
not a
no, no,
You're
no.
getting a little bit too excited, Brother Philip.
One more
Before we
thing.
close out, we need to support Brother
that's
Philip.
right. That's right.
You
That's
know,
I was gonna say that. We're not a clique, we're
we
not a
need to
crew.
support Brother
We are
Philip.
a coalition that needs support.
We
And
need,
every
and we want to
I
first
know we got
support.
our dear sister's book back up. You all
Uh-huh.
that are watching, we would encourage you to please go online and check out Purpose is Ageless by our dear sister, Sister Elia Muhammad. You can find it at, I guess, at Amazon and wherever you just put in Purpose is Ageless, inspired by Diana, and you can pick up a copy. It's only $9.99 for the low cost of
Only.
$9.99. You can get your
Nine,
book
nine,
with
and
that copy
nine.
of Purpose is Ageless. And as you do that, just after you do that, we want you to go to your Cash App and we want you to support the 7th Region Coalition by making your donation to pull it up. Pull it up. Come on now.
Can we
There we
take
go.
out
I'm coming.
All right,
can we
yeah,
take out the knowledge corner?
here it comes.
Trouble.
There it is right there.
We need
To
the
the
knowledge corner
7th
taken off.
Region Coalition. We encourage you all, please help to support us in the work that we're striving to do. We want to see We're not doing no rallies tonight, but can we get $50 tonight? $50 tonight from everybody that's
Can we
on.
get a
You
$100
can just
donation?
go. You can go to
That's a rally.
we can go
Can
to
we get 5
Seven
on it?
Coalition right there. We just want you to put 50 on it. 50, not the police.
Don't sing the rest of the
50,
song, please.
$50 to the 7th Region Coalition. We do this out of love, out of passion, but God is real. And when you hit the switch, you expect the lights to come on, and FP&L will send you a bill for them lights. So we need your help and your support to continue doing what we do. Again, Sister Elia, thank you so much for sharing your time. Oh, Brother Sean said he got the first 50. Oh, watch out now. Asking you shall
Thank you,
receive.
Brother Sean.
Knocking it shall be open.
All right, Brother
And,
Sean.
and thank you for your questions as well, Brother Sean.
Yes.
This evening. And we got to come back, Sister Elia, and talk some
I'd be
more about
honored.
this.
I'd be honored.
It is obvious and apparent that this is on the hearts and the minds of so many of our viewers as well as us, right, Brother Mark?
Yes.
Brother Mark was watching. Brother Mark was listening to the lecture. He's like, forget the questions. I want to hear what you got to say. You know. So thank you again, our dear sister. And on that note, if all hearts and minds are clear,
Now you can say it, Brother Philip.
all hearts and minds are clear. All right. Well, we're not a crew. We're not a clique. We are not a gang, but we
What
are
are we?
the 7th Region Coalition to help save